now. Over 200 marine scientists and delegates have gathered in Port Elizabeth for the African Marine Waste Conference. The delegates are looking to find solutions to the build-up of pollution and toxic waste in our oceans. Algoa Bay in Port Elizabeth has been declared a hope spot, as well as being identified as the Bottlenose Dolphin capital of the world. But pollution is threatening to put the brakes on the opportunities at making a livelihood of the sea. Dr. Tony Ribbink from the Sustainable Sea Trust joins us now from our studios in Port Elizabeth. Dr. Ribbink, thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to the program. This gathering, whilst a lot of us lay people wouldn't notice or appreciate the importance of it, why is it critical to be having these conversations?
Peter, well, thank you very much for having us on board. It's in fact extremely important because at the moment 350 kilograms of plastic waste alone is entering the sea every second of every day. That's about 21 tons per minute. It's very destructive. Today people were talking about the hundreds of thousands of mammals, marine mammals that are killed, about the millions of birds that are killed by this, how this is coming back to influence the health of people because the microplastics are entering the food, fishes, the mussels, the oysters. Everything that we eat from the sea is now contaminated. But also it's a reflection of what's happening on land. Most, by a long way, about 80 to 90% of the pollution that enters the sea does so from land. So it means that on land we are in fact suffering ourselves. And we know from our own neighborhoods, from traveling down our own streets, what's happening on the beaches, that there is an accumulation of waste. One of the problems is that waste, and particularly plastic waste, is usually made of some valuable resource which we can then reutilize. And so we are losing millions of dollars a year around Africa in losing this waste just out to the sea or elsewhere. And so we're looking at finding solutions, as you mentioned, but also finding opportunities for harnessing the circular economy, opportunities for economic enterprises, for education, for capacity building, for creating jobs, for promoting tourism. And so if we can get this waste under control, it will affect very positively the economy, the state of the environment, and the state of human health. So together with many other African countries and experts from around the world, we are taking a positive, hopeful approach, finding solutions, utilizing opportunities. We think it's exceedingly important, and we hope that all the listeners around Africa would do so as well.
So, Dr. Ribbink, 350 kilograms of plastic waste per second, where is it coming from?
Well, that, of course, is worldwide. We don't really know what the situation is in Africa, but it comes from people. Nature by itself doesn't create any waste. It recycles everything automatically. So it's from people, and principally, if it's entering the sea, it's from coastal municipalities. And so the coastal municipalities have to be a focus of our attention. What can we do within municipalities, starting in our homes, starting in our businesses, starting in our schools? What is it that we can do to, A, get rid of litter in our own living environment and working environment, and B, to stop it from going into seas? So waste comes from people.
Our continent is surrounded obviously by thousands and thousands and thousands of kilometers of sea. How vulnerable are we in particular to fighting this menace, given we're not as resourced as the developing world, the developed world?
That's a very good question, because we are under-resourced, and the World Ocean Commission indicated that we need to look for international funding and better attention. But we also need to promote our own activities and take responsibility ourselves. And so education, awareness, and getting people to develop the ethic of caring for the environment is important. The African problem, though, is in fact a global problem, because the plastic and other forms of waste that enter our sea then enter the international waters. They travel all around the world. We are also, of course, vulnerable to that which is produced elsewhere and floats on the currents to Africa. So not only are we developing the network for Africa, but we're joining the international and global networks so that this can become a major initiative. Some of the speakers today indicated that the waste and pollution problems are at the same sort of scale as climate change. And indeed, climate change itself is a result of pollution, carbon dioxide and other gases and other aspects that enter the atmosphere. So this pollution issue is enormous. In fact, just the humanitarian costs globally of pollution are estimated at being $13.8 trillion a year. Frightening, isn't it? So it is important. It
is quite alarming. This kind of waste problem knows no boundaries. It doesn't choose which country. It's all over. So I would imagine then a Pan-African response is critically important. But are other African countries coming to the party? Because you might gather together in PE and thrash out what you can, but if not all African countries are participating, you could still become a victim of somebody else's non-interest or inability to participate.
A very, very good point. We cannot handle this alone. We need to, in fact, be networking within our own countries. We need to be networking between government and business, academia, civil society, at the whole lot. But equally, what happens in one country affects another. So yes, the transboundary collaboration is absolutely essential. And I'm pleased to say that we do have good representation from the coastal countries of Africa and some inland countries, such as Malawi, which has got Lake Malawi, of course. And the Abidjan Convention is represented, United Nations is represented, the Nairobi Convention. We have people from the Mediterranean coast as well. And collectively, we can come to some sort of plan and a strategy. And this is one of the goals, is what should we be doing in Africa to improve this? And we have a major workshop on Thursday where not only are the people of Africa working on this, but equally we have many of the best from around the world. We have people from Australia, Japan, other parts of Asia, the Middle East, Europe, UK, Canada, and America joining us. So we're learning from the best in the world from elsewhere and seeing how we can adapt what they have found to the cultures and circumstances of Africa. And I must say it's going very well, with a positive feeling of we can solve these problems, we've got hope, let's not talk about doom and gloom. Let's convert this into something that is much better and capture and harness the circular economy, which is now a bit of a buzzword, but it means essentially don't let those oil-produced plastics float off. Let's return it to something that can be used.
All right. So what sort of themes or solutions have started to flow through? I know you've got the big workshop on Thursday, but I suppose some idea of which way it's going to go has already started to filter through.
Yes, very strongly. Definitely collaboration, and for the organizations around the world to, in fact, recognize that our network needs to be something that is owned by Africa, but and to get ownership within the countries to promote local collaboration. Local collaboration now is on a large scale. That's throughout Africa. Education and capacity building and understanding of the issues is considered by everybody to be fundamental. So a massive drive on education, particularly in schools. One of the speakers today, Sylvia Earle, indicated that this generation of young people is probably the most important generation in human history. What they do or do not do now will affect human life not just in 1,000 years, but 10,000 and forever. So it is hugely important, and that's inspirational for the young people to hear that they've got an important role to play. So education, capacity building, awareness, mobilizing the communities, mobilizing civil society, and then getting to business. We need to be talking to the producers, to the distributors, to the retailers, to the recyclers, and to the packagers, and getting them to collaborate with right across the board. South Africa is also very fortunate to have wonderful policies, but many of the people in our country are not aware of the great policies, and so one of the important roles of the network is going to be passing the information on and being another voice for the policymakers. So I think it's very exciting, and I think we're on the right track.
Well, we certainly wish you the best of luck, Dr. Tony Ribbink. Thank you very much indeed for sharing your thoughts with us and highlighting this very, very important issue of plastic waste and pollution in our oceans. Thank you very much indeed for your time. All right,
and thank you.
That was Dr. Ribbink, who was talking to us about 350 kilograms of plastic waste hitting our oceans every second, destroying the marine economy, but also this is plastic that we should be recycling into our economy. Okay.